Welcome back. I'm your host, Harshal, and you've made it to the grand finale of our Modifiers Explainer series. Over the last 4 parts, we've broken down the basics. But today, we are taking on the final boss battles of medical coding. We're talking high-stakes repeat modifiers, the nightmare of claim denials, and how to navigate intense audit risks. These are the exact scenarios that can literally make or break a practice's bottom line.
Before we charge into the data, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Decode Healthcare with Harshal. Your support keeps these explainers coming. Today's session is packed with real-world case studies and financial insights that will fundamentally change how you view a claim. We're going to see exactly where the money leaks out and, more importantly, how to plug those holes permanently. Let's finish this series strong.
All right, let's dive into repeat procedures. There's a critical contrast between modifier 76 and 77 that trips up even veteran coders. Use 76 when the exact same physician repeats a procedure on the same day, like needing a second EKG because a patient's chest pain is evolving. Use 77 when another physician repeats the procedure to get a crucial second opinion. The absolute key here: neither of these can ever be used just for an equipment failure or a lab mistake. They absolutely must reflect true medical necessity. Shifting to post-op surgical modifiers. The global period can be incredibly tricky since payment is already bundled for a normal recovery. So if a patient has an unplanned return to the operating room for a related complication, like needing to control a post-op hemorrhage, you append modifier 78. However, if they come back during that same global period for a totally unrelated procedure, say they develop acute appendicitis a few weeks after a knee replacement, that requires modifier 79.
Moving from the OR to the lab, modifier 91 is your tool for medically necessary serial monitoring. Think of a patient in the ED with diabetic ketoacidosis, where you need to track their glucose repeatedly throughout the day. Quick warning though, do not use this if the lab machine broke down or a specimen was ruined. It is strictly for tracking the clinical course.
Now for the ultimate boss battle: claim denials. Incorrect modifiers act as tripwires for these frustrating rejections. CO11 means your diagnosis is inconsistent, often because a modifier 59 isn't supported. CO97 hits you when a service is bundled per NCCI edits, instantly rejecting your 59. And CO151, that means your modifier 25 was rejected because your documentation simply didn't prove the E&M service was separately payable.
Denials are bad, but audits? They're a whole different beast. The stakes are incredibly high with the OIG and RACs. Modify 59 is historically the most scrutinized code in medical billing. Auditors actively look for red flags, using modifiers way more than your peers, a pattern of 25 and 59 overuse, abnormally high reimbursement, or sudden coding changes. Trigger these, and auditors will absolutely come knocking.
Let's look at a real-world victory. A 65-year-old patient comes in for a scheduled check of their hypertension and diabetes. During the visit, the physician also evaluates and excises a separate forearm lesion. Because the provider separately documented the EM service for the chronic conditions and created a distinct procedure note for the excision with different diagnoses for each, the claim using modifier 25 was paid in full. On the flip side, here's a painful failure. A coder incorrectly appended modifier 59 to multiple colonoscopy polypectomies performed during the same session. The result? A massive CO97 denial that wiped out expected revenue. They wrongly assumed finding different polyps meant separate structures, but CPT guidelines strictly specify that removing polyps in the same organ doesn't justify a separate modifier. You only bill that base code once. Why does this matter? Because proper coding is a strict financial necessity. To put this in perspective, one multi-specialty practice suffered a staggering $174,000 negative impact. Why? They lost $30,000 annually just by forgetting modifier 50 on bilateral procedures. Add $144,000 tied up in denials from inappropriate modifier 59 usage, and you see the drain. Eliminating these errors instantly boosts cash flow. You've made it to graduation, and here is your best practices checklist you can use right now. Always verify NCCI edits. Whenever possible, use specific X modifiers instead of 59 to immediately lower your audit risk. Ensure your documentation strictly supports medical necessity, never apply modifiers automatically just to force a claim through, and ruthlessly monitor your denial trends every single month.
We've covered a massive amount of ground in this explainer series. Remember, healthy cash flow relies entirely on accurate coding. Thank you so much for joining me for this grand finale explainer. Keep your documentation spotless, and don't forget to subscribe for more healthcare insights. But before you go, look at your own data. Which single modifier is quietly leaking the most revenue from your bottom line right now?